Um, We're very fortunate to have our speaker today, Gordon Hartman. I've known of Gordon. I've never met him before, but I knew him when he was in the building business years and years ago when I was a real estate broker, which I still am, in case anybody wants me to sell their cottage. No, I can't do that. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce Gordon Hartman, so please give him a warm welcome. Gordon.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak. I appreciate it very much. It allows me to get out and talk about all the wonderful things that we're doing in an effort to assist our friends with special needs. I'm going to give you a little brief background on how I'm able to do what I do on a daily basis, which is truly 24/7 for me. I am all in when it comes to things Morgan's. But let me back up a little bit. Is the lights dimming or am I having?
Yeah. Thank you, Gordon. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you. This is a real short speech here, but thank you all for coming. I grew up here in San Antonio. I've only lived in San Antonio. It's my only city I know, and I feel blessed for that. I love this city. I went to a local seminary for 4 years, and while in the seminary, ultimately decided that wasn't for me, but made a decision I wanted to build a house. And so I built a house, and at age 19, built a home, sold it, had no idea what I was doing, and then that went on to other activities, built a large home building company, a land development company, a mortgage company, a title company, an insurance company. Come 2005, 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to sell all my different companies to a group out of California who was going to take what we had basically put together and expand it all over the country. As you may know, though, after 2005, things didn't go too well in 2007, 2008 in real estate, and that company no longer exists. They came in, bought everything, but then lost it a couple of years later and sold off their assets. But that gave me a chance then to make a decision of being able to spend the next part of my life in something that I think I've been extremely blessed to be able to do and fulfilled to be able to do, and that is assist individuals with special needs. So basically, I've spent 20 years of my life being a kid, 20 years of my life in business, and 20 years so far being not really a philanthropist. I call myself more of a social worker because I get really involved in what we do. But I'm involved in many different ways with wonderful, wonderful people. And so as soon as we sold the companies, the decision was made that we would form a foundation. And the idea would be that we would fund different nonprofits in San Antonio and surrounding areas that would help individuals with special needs. And that's how it all started back in late 2005 after we sold in early 2005. But then an opportunity came where a situation came up in 2006 where I watched my daughter Morgan, who, by the way, is just turned, is going to be 32. That's outdated information, but she actually is going to be 32 in September. A wonderful, wonderful young lady. Many of you all may know her from her singing at Christmas time. She always sings at Christmas, and that is a big deal, by the way. She practices for months. They bring in all these cameras and these lights, and she sings. The dog is also with her, but the only reason the dog sits there is because we give him a lot of CBD. But anyway, he hangs out, and they do the commercial. She does a wonderful job with it. But so we started this foundation, but we went on a trip. And Morgan wanted to go swimming for the second time that day. And so I went down to the pool with her, jumped in with her, we jumped around a little bit, and then I got out, and there were 3 other children playing at the other end of the pool. And 2 of them were throwing a ball back and forth. And Morgan noticed them. She was nonverbal at that time, or very little verbal skills at that time. And she wanted to play. And so I'm watching her do that, and watching her inch toward wanting to play with these other children. Very nice children, just throwing a ball back and forth. And Morgan went up to him and couldn't say, "Hey guys, can I play?" So what she did, she hit the ball. That was her way of expressing, can I be involved, can I be included? These very nice children at that point then took the ball and got out of the pool very quickly. Not because they were mean, but because they simply didn't know how to be able to be involved with Morgan. They didn't know how to interact and say, because it was different for them. It was like, well, how come she's not asking? Why is she not saying, hey, we just want to play? So I got scared. And that's okay. So I jumped in and we played for a while, but that stuck with me and it stuck with me. I said, how can we go about taking Morgan to places that she will enjoy and really have fun and being able to do it? We had tried Disney World. Doesn't work. Too many lights, blinking lights, loud noises. What we did when we went to Disney is we spent more time in the room than we did going anywhere because it simply didn't work for her. It wasn't for her. And Morgan is one of the blessed ones. She has some physical special needs, but mainly her main special needs is cognitive delay. She's at a level about a 4 or 5 year old. But many issues bother her, such as loud noises, lights, and things like that. But she's just one of many who have many different types of special needs. So we thought to ourselves, how can we develop a place where everyone could come together, everyone, not just those with special needs, and play together? That was the idea behind it. So the next time that pool situation occurs, those children say, yeah, come on and play, because they will have been somewhere where they have been able to interact with others who may have a special need. So we put together this meeting, having no idea how many people are going to come in a room about this size, and we fill the room. Everybody's like, what are you thinking? I have no idea. I'm used to building bricks and sticks and building houses and putting those kind of things together. I don't know anything about a theme park, but we think we want to build one. Well, the people had incredible ideas and thoughts, and so we brought doctors and therapists and caregivers and individuals with special needs all together to listen to our ideas or listen to their ideas about how could we build what is now known today as Morgan's Wonderland. So at that time we made a decision, we're going to go forward with this, having no idea what we were doing. So what I did is I called individuals who I had been working with in the home building business, all the people who had done my design work, people who had done my architectural work, people who had done all these different things, said, hey, you want to build a theme park? I said, Gordon, we don't know anything about theme parks, we build houses. I said, I know, but I don't either. Let's all just go see what we can do. That's the honest truth. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. So we went and purchased a big part of the Longhorn Quarry, which had been vacant since 1969, believe it or not. Since 1989, I'm sorry, since 1989, they shut it down. We went and bought it. And the reason we wanted that particular location, and we were blessed to get it, is number one, they had a very small lake back then, which is much bigger now, part of Morgan's. And it was along what this thing called Wurzbach Parkway. Back then, people were like, Wurzbach Parkway, what's that? Well, everybody uses it now. But so we went ahead and purchased a big part of that. As a matter of fact, where the stadium is there was going to be located at another location, and we had that piece under contract as well. And I went to the school district, and actually, they moved the stadium there after finding that to be a better location. So, but we bring everybody in, and we talk about how to do it, and we listen to different ideas. And that was the beauty of it. It wasn't where we sat in a room and said, we know how to do it, but we listened because there's so many different needs. What Morgan's situation is, having a special need, isn't exactly what someone else's special need. Matter of fact, I often talk about special needs as kind of like a fingerprint. Everyone's got different needs, different things that they need. The difference about Morgan, and the reason I do so much of what I do, is because Morgan's one of the lucky ones, guys. She has all the doctors she needs. She has all the therapists she needs. She has all the medicines that she needs. She has an incredible caregiver, one of the best. She has a place to live, and she has 2 loving parents. I just described for you an exception to the rule. Most individuals with special needs normally do not get what they need because the resources are not there. The divorce rate is 80% because of the stress of the families of having someone with special needs. And so Morgan is one of the lucky ones. And so I want to dedicate what I have time to do and being able to bring about a better world by helping individuals with special needs to make the playing field maybe a little bit more level, if you will. Make it to where it's a little bit more, because Morgan has means and has a family who's watching over her, why shouldn't everybody have that same opportunity? Thus, the reason why we've invested heavily in doing what we do under everything called Morgan's. So now back to the development of Morgan's Wonderland. So we come up and we go through all this process of reviewing what can we do. And ultimately the decision was, let's build this 25-acre park with 25 different attractions, a train, a lake that has a catch and release program. We always took all of our fish have really big lips because they're caught and they're thrown back in the caught. So we have a catch and release program. We have a lot of different rides. We have a 4D theater. We have a carousel. But here was the interesting thing. We built things differently than other rides that were out there with minor detail changes so that everybody can enjoy it. I traveled the country and talked to people who built carousels and said, I need a carousel that if someone's in a wheelchair, it will go up and down just like the rest of the animals. See, before, many carousels were above ground, not level with the ground. So if you're in a wheelchair, you look at it and go, I like to do it, but I can't. Or if you're vision impaired or hearing impaired, or you had no limbs, no arms, no legs, you were told, I'm sorry, you can't. If you have any of those issues, you can ride and do everything at Morgan's. There's no restrictions in that respect. Now, there are some restrictions on height on certain rides. We have to for safety reasons. But for the most part, outside that, if you're in a wheelchair, you can do anything anyone else can do. You can do a zip line that goes 13 stories high. And you can do it even if you have been in a wheelchair and on a breathing apparatus. We have built it specifically to where we don't tell anyone no. And when you transfer from your wheelchair into the zip line, you do it behind an area where no one is watching you have to do that, so we keep everybody's feeling of not having to be watched, if you will, while they're making that transition. And that's the only ride where there actually is a transition, other than our water park. Because now we also have a water park called Morgan's Inspiration Island. And you say, well, what's the difference between a water park and Morgan's Wonderland? Basically, you add water. That's basically it. You add water. But there is one thing that we really had to think about when it came to building Morgan's Inspiration Island. What if someone comes to Morgan's in a battery-operated wheelchair and wants to stay independent? And we have a lot of people who come on their own, sometimes with friends, sometimes not. So we had to come up with a pneumatic wheelchair. Our wheelchairs actually go underwater and operate. They work off compressed air, not off batteries. And so we had to work with a university to basically be able to come up with how to be able to make that wheelchair work. And that's something that we try to get outside the box. That's basically what we do. I'm competing with someone who's remodeling next door. But that's what we try to do, is try to come up with different ways to do things differently. To be able to make things to where we never have to say, oh, I wish you could do that, but you can't do that. The word can't is something we don't like when it comes to Morgan's. So we opened that in 2017. And that's been an incredible success because it gets hot here. People love coming here. Going to Morgan's Inspiration Island. But something we do at Morgan's and we do at Inspiration Island is we never go to full capacity. And the reason is, especially in the water park, is many of the individuals there actually are in wheelchairs. Some of them are. But we can hold up to 60 wheelchairs at any one time. Because you go to our wheelchair valet and we convert you in a private location from your wheelchair to another wheelchair. So how many individuals can go to a water park who are in a wheelchair and enjoy it? They can't in their own wheelchair, so we developed our own wheelchairs that can handle the chlorinated water. These are small details, but they make such a big difference when it comes to the 20% of the population that has some form of special needs. And you say, well, what do you mean 20%? Well, 1 out of 5? Yes, 1 out of 5 individuals has some form of special need. Some are very minor. Some are very acute, highly acute individuals. There's about 900 children actually in Bear County who are of such an acute situation they rarely ever leave their homes. They're on breathing apparatus, feeding tubes, and a wheelchair, visually impaired and hearing impaired. So the numbers are very high. And for so many years, back in the early 90s, they developed a thing called ADA. And an excellent, George Bush signed that legislation. But we go a step further, and what we do is called ultra accessibility. We try to go above and beyond what is in that law. It's a good law, but it's a very soft law. If there's ways around it, people work ways where they don't have to do it, that sort of thing. And what we're trying to say, we need to stop that and be ultra accessible. And ultra accessible is, the important thing about it is that when we're ultra accessible, that we're inclusive. If I took this room and I call this room accessible and put everyone who has special needs over in that corner, I'm not doing what I need to do. I need to have everybody join in within all the tables and within everything, so we're all inclusive. And that's what Morgan's is about, is bringing about, sparking cultural change and becoming a more inclusive society. Because there's so many who are barred or not allowed an opportunity simply because they don't know or don't have access or maybe are not welcome. So what we're trying to do at Morgan's is not just talk about it, but actually build things to show how you can put these things together. So we talked about Morgan's Wonderland, which most people know us for, but it only represents 17% now of our overhead budget because we have so many other things going on. We talked about Inspiration Island. But 5 years ago, we started construction on Morgan Sports, which is a sports facility for people with vision impaired, hearing impaired, people who have no impairment at all, playing together. So you say, well, how would someone who's vision impaired play with someone who has no visual impairment at all? How would it be fair? Everybody wears goggles. Okay, so everybody's got the same amount of level of eyesight, and they're all able to play games together. Just little tweaks like that can make a difference. Think about the person whose self-esteem is able to say, you know, I can now play with my friends. I can be with my friends. And we're not just talking kids. Many times we think of children when it comes to individuals with special needs, but Morgan's going to be 32 years old in September. She's a kid cognitively, but she's an adult in many ways and wants to be treated like an adult. And that's what we're trying to do, is for everybody to be able to enjoy. Out of all the things that we do, when you go to Morgan's, I'm going to jump back to Morgan's real quick, you get, if you have a special need, you get in for free. And the reason for that is because of what I talked about earlier. Morgan is one of the lucky ones. If we charged individuals with special needs every time they came to Morgan's, many of them would come once and never come again because they can't afford it. Even though our prices are incredibly low. We're much cheaper in SeaWorld and Fiesta, Texas and all that because they have much more different kind of rides and things than we do. But we don't charge, and because we want to make it affordable for everyone. We don't want that to be an economic barrier, to be another barrier for individuals to enjoy. But remember this, when you think of Morgan's, anything Morgan's, and especially Morgan's Wonderland, Morgan's Inspiration Island, Morgan's Sports, Morgan's Camp, I'll tell you about a few other things as well. All of them are, if you have special needs, they're for free. But the key is that most of the people that go into Morgan's, 80% who enjoy everything, parents, caregivers, people who don't have any special, 80% have no special needs at all. None. Only about 15 to 20% do. So remember, it's joining everybody together, but that 15 to 20% may not have another place to go where they can get on a carousel, where they could go on a train ride, where they could actually play with their friends next to them and be able to enjoy things. Go on a zip line, see a 4D theater, all these different things that we are allow us to do at Morgan's. So Morgan's is the only place in the world that has what I'm talking about. I will tell you there is a second one under the planning stage right now in Kansas City. The owners of the Kansas City Chief, Lamar Hunt Jr., has been working with us to be able to build a second one after his grandson, who has acute special needs, named Michael. And so we're working with them to actually develop a second Wonderland. So these are the things that we're doing. So let me get back to where we are with sports. So while we're building a sports facility, we said, well, we ought to build a camp. They said, well, why build a camp? Well, everything we do is inspired in some way by Morgan. Morgan is the inspiration, so why a camp? Because when Morgan wanted to go to camp, she always wanted to go to camp, a place called Camp. Some of y'all may have heard of it before. Camp's a wonderful place, but Morgan was always like, I want to go. Once you tell Morgan something she does not, she just constantly repeats it over and over. When are we going? When are we going? So you don't say anything until about 5 minutes before you get in the car. But my point is, she would always want to go to camp. I was thinking to myself, there's such a great need, and they only were seeing about 1,000 people per year. So we have 102 acres just north at Bulverde Road, or Bulverde in Evans. Someone say Evans out there? Yeah, whoever said Evans, thank you for reminding me where I'm at. Yeah, okay, Evans. We're on Evans Road, and we're just a mile north of Evans Road, just 2 miles east of Bulverde. So it's about a 15-minute drive from Morgan's. But people come from all over the world, and so you go, well, why would you come that far to come to Morgan's camp? And the reason is because we have a challenge course that if someone is in a wheelchair, you can be 22 feet above the ground in your wheelchair and enjoy the person who's right next to you who's on this challenge course and roll right along with them. Why? Because why should that person in a wheelchair, why should the person who has a cognitive delay not be allowed to get on challenge course? Why should a person who's vision impaired or hearing impaired not be able to do that along with someone who may not have any impairments or any issues at all? We think everybody ought to join together in an inclusive type of world. And so by doing that, others are starting to see that, and you're starting to see more of what we're doing in other areas. So now I take you from that, and then at that same time, while we're developing that, we thought we need to help people who need medical and therapeutic assistance, physical therapies, medical needs, and also issues such as legal issues, other issues they have with food insecurities. So many individuals with special needs have these type of things, but don't know how to connect the dots from point A to point B as to how to get those resources. And so we built a facility, which you may have seen along West Parkway, called Morgan's MAC. It stands for Multi-Assistance Center. And basically what it is we have people, it's a 165,000 square foot facility. And within that facility, individuals with special needs come and tell us what their needs are, either their caregiver, their parents, or whatever. The most acute of special needs are those who have mild special needs, come there and we help connect them either with doctors and therapists that we have within the building, or people we have around the community, or people we have around all of Texas. We have specialists around Texas who we connect with, who we can connect them with, and set up an opportunity for them to do it through a thing called a navigator, a person who monitors all their different needs. And right now, we're helping about 8,000 individuals currently to the Multi-Assistance Center. I just had a meeting before I came here. We hope to be at 10,000 by the end of the year. So 10,000 people, we are monitoring their needs, every need, and when they miss an appointment, we know it because the computer tells us they missed the appointment. Because the doctor they were supposed to go to says, hey, Joey didn't make it. Joey, why didn't you make it? My car broke down. The caregiver's car broke down. Didn't go. Well, Joey, we need to reschedule that. So we really monitor people very closely to make sure they get their needs taken care of. Food insecurities, the food bank is there with us. Many different organizations, about 31 different community organizations work with us within the MAC, plus doctors and therapists. Something that's never been done before. And let me tell you, it's even more important now that we have the Multi-Assistance Center. Because under the recent bill that was passed, now people with Medicare have to now twice a year reestablish their Medicare, establish their account. That's gonna be very difficult for people to do. The MAC can help people take care of that situation. So even with recent legislation that's been passed, we have to be there for those folks or else they'll lose their opportunity. And if they lose those benefits, many of them will not know or be able to handle many of the things they have to deal with on a daily basis. So that's the MAC. But we didn't stop there. We said there's more things we can do. But before I leave from the MAC, let me tell you, we have a salon. Every one of you are welcome to have your haircut done there, your nails done. You can get a pedicure. You say, why a salon? Why build a salon? I'll do it by stories. A lot of times I tell stories. There's a young man in Austin. His name is Jacob. He's 8 years old. He has autism. Highly, highly active young man. Screams a lot, I'll be honest with you. He's got a tough time. Mom and dad have a tough time with him. And so I happen to know the mother, Sydney, and she was saying that Jacob had never had a haircut. And I noticed that because his hair was very, very long. And I said, why? And she said, he can't get a haircut, Gordon. He won't sit still. I said, try us. She said, Gordon, no. And I said, just drive down here and try it. Jacob's now had 2 haircuts. Okay? It's possible because our folks know how to handle it. They deal with bribing them by giving them, toys, and they give them a little this and a little that, and they'll sit on the floor with them. They'll walk around with them. I've seen them walking around with they'll do anything they have to, but they'll cut their hair. And so you think everybody gets their hair cut. That's easy. No, there's a lot of people who can't do it. So we built a salon. You can get your hair cut there. I can get my hair cut there. Everybody can. Again, a place of inclusion. But we're making sure that those before who could never have a chance now have a chance to be able to get a simple thing as a haircut. Or get their nails done. Why nails? Because when Morgan gets her nails done, you know what she does the whole time? A lot. Does like this with me. She wants me to see her nails. So it's a big thing about just their self-esteem is increased tremendously just by doing their nails. It's a big deal. But before, nobody would think about doing that. We also have an ambulatory surgical center. We do surgeries for individuals with special needs. Why surgeries? People who try to get surgeries through the normal hospital structure get it on a much slower basis because the throughput is much slower. When Morgan is going to have surgeries, and she's had many, but when she's going to have it, it takes a little longer because Morgan, get on the bed. Well, that's not just jump on the bed. It's like we kind of have to go through a process. So the throughput is much slower. So what we decided was instead of hearing about how people who have special needs are many times told, I'm sorry, we can't do this, or it's not possible, we said we're going to build a surgical center and we're going to show how it is possible. We recently opened about 2 months ago, and next year in 2026, we will do 7,000 surgeries at the Multi-Assistance Center for people who otherwise either would never have had the surgeries or would have been severely delayed, and that's not good for them. So those are a few of the things. We also have a major dental facility there with 19 dental chairs because dental is the #1 thing. It's also the hardest thing to deal with, and the reason is the reimbursement under Medicaid is very, very low. So unless you basically give people free rent, doctors, and you subsidize it, there's many people who go without proper dental, and we've got to change that. So we built a major dental facility to be able to deal with that. If you have bad dental, you have bad health in many cases. It's all tied together. But unfortunately, we don't deal with that. We look at it and go, yeah, it's a problem, and we talk about it. One thing we don't do at Morgan's is go to a bunch of seminars and listen to a bunch of, well, we're thinking about this might be a cool idea. We just go do it. We just go build it. We go make it happen. And then we show others how it's going to be done. So we're now forming, and will by the end of the year, a new office called the Morgan's Institute. And the Institute is because we hear from people all over the world, who say, I want to know more about how you did this, or why did you do this, or what. And right now we're basically just hearing them say that, because we don't have anywhere to send them to. By forming the Institute, we will be able to help them be able to do things within their community that can make it more inclusive. So that's coming very soon. Right down the street, as you all know, you're right down the street from me, 13 minutes away. Depending if you drive a little faster, maybe a little shorter, but the point is literally down the street from us here. You're gonna see some things under construction there right now. Right now, you're seeing a new facility called Morgan's Wonder Care under construction. A new 12,000 square foot facility that will help. Remember I talked about those 900 children who never leave their homes? That's not fair. They should be able to leave their homes. They should be able to get out every once in a while and go somewhere. So we are developing a facility so that we can care for 60 of them every day. They can come there. Now, the ratio of nurses to individuals with special needs there, 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Because they are of acute special needs. These are people who, like that, if not watch, can pass away. And so, but we're gonna be there for them because we need to be there for them. And it's gonna be called Morgan's Winter Care. It's under construction as you drive Worship Parkway heading west, or you can see it. We're also under construction on a new hotel, which will be an ultra accommodating hotel. What does it mean to be ultra accommodating? Now, I've been talking about ultra accessible, but I'm changing the word here to ultra accommodating. I hear from people all the time who tell me, Gordon, we can't go to travel because when we get to a hotel, they don't have this, or they don't know about this. Or if I'm in a wheelchair, I can't get a hoist because they put that little thing on the bed, so I can't ever get from my wheelchair into the bed. They talk about how people who need vibrating alarm clocks to wake them up, okay? Little things like that they don't have, little small details. So I'm gonna build a hotel that's gonna look like any other hotel. It's gonna have a bar on the top level. It's gonna have a restaurant on the top level. Why the top level? Because we have the highest elevation. You'll be able to see downtown. It'll be called City View Restaurant. You'll need to come and eat. I know y'all get a lot of food here for part of the deal, but you can break from that every once in a while. Come and see us over at City View. We will also have a bar facility there. Now we're starting to talk, huh? And that's going to be called the Blue Lounge. And why Blue Lounge? Because Morgan's dog name that you see in those commercials is named Blue. So we're naming it after Blue. Because he's been very good about those commercials. He loves CBD, as I mentioned earlier. He's my kind of dog. So anyway, that's under construction right now, and about September, October of next year, it will be finished. And we'll have an opportunity for people to come and now be able to travel. And if you don't have any needs, in particular, other than maybe just more, you need more towels, then that's how we'll accommodate you, give you more towels. But if you need a hoist to get into the bed, we'll have that for you. If you need that special alarm clock, if you need that IV pole because you are on an IV, some people have to be on IVs at night, and some people have to be on lots of different breathing apparatuses. But if they go on their breathing apparatus, what happens if electricity goes out in the hotel? We actually will have a generator on 28 different rooms so that if they did, their machine would still work. Because you don't always want to rely on a battery backup for something that critical. So these are small details, folks, small things, but they make a big difference to change who we are in this world, to recognize the importance of bringing about more inclusion. In about 4 months, you'll start to see construction of a new facility right across from the MAC at that corner of David Edwards and Thousand Oaks. That's gonna be a new fitness center. We call it Morgan's Fitness. Why a fitness center? So many individuals with and without special needs want to work out. But those who maybe are in a wheelchair, or those who maybe have cognitive delay, don't feel comfortable going to a Gold's Gym. There's not a comfort level. And I hear from them all the time. And so what we've done is we've come in connection with the YMCA, who to date has 950 facilities within the United States. But not one of them has ever focused on making sure it's ultra accessible. It's for everybody. You can go to many YMCAs. The YMCA is a wonderful organization. But how about someone who wants to play pickleball? Some of the YMCAs do not have the ability for the person in the wheelchair to get down to the pickleball court. Small detail, we'll make sure all those kind of things are taken care of. And that will tie with our sports facility, which has 14 pickleball courts, by the way. And they're open to you guys to be able to play there as well. So if you like pickleball or tennis or basketball or whatever, we have 3 different basketball facilities. You can enjoy those with us. This is not about individuals with special needs over here. It's about all of us coming together, those with and without special needs, to bring down that barrier of the one I talked about when I first started talking about when Morgan wasn't accepted at that pool. My hope is that that was to happen again to another Morgan, that the children would have had some kind of an experience or known something about Morgan, so where they would have said, come on, play. Yeah, we want to play together with you. And we've changed something then. But we're not doing it by just going and writing about it. We're doing it by going and actually doing it and showing others how to do it. And it's happening all right here in San Antonio. And as I've talked about, many others are starting to tie in with us and see what we're doing. And so we think we are truly sparking cultural change to make our world a better place. And that's what Morgan's is all about. We started off as this little bitty theme park some 15 years ago. We just celebrated our anniversary as a theme park. $36 million investment. Didn't know if it was going to work. Now we have over $200 million in assets and no debt. The reason we can't have debt is for us to offer so many of the free programs that we have to have no debt. Even with that, we lose about $6 million a year because we don't charge for many of the things we do. I don't care, as many times you don't charge someone, you don't make it up in volume, okay? It doesn't work. Math never gets there, it's still 0. So my point being is that there's so many things that we can do and so many wonderful organizations that have joined with us to make us help us do what we do and come together. But we're just starting, guys. We're just starting. And that's why I want to thank you for allowing me to take a lot of your time this afternoon to be able to be here to talk to you about what we do. I understand the agenda now is, because I told you kind of what we're doing, and we have one other thing we're working on, I'm not going to talk about it, but it has to do with housing. And I'm working on an idea of housing right now, but I'm not going to talk about any more than that. It doesn't tease. The only reason I'm saying that is because there's a real need when it comes to that. Think about it. If you have someone in your family who has special needs and needs a place to live, if you have an extra 6 figures in your pocket that you have nothing to, you can find them a nice place. But we can't only make everything expensive for folks with special needs. We got to make it more affordable. So we're coming up with some ways to try to do that in a more creative way. We're working on that right now. So that would be our 15th endeavor if we're able to accomplish that. So we've been around 15 years. We're averaging about 1 endeavor a year because there's so many more things we can do. You're going to watch a little video here that's only 4 minutes long. And then afterwards, I understand if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Is that the plan for the agenda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, folks.
All right, can you give us the video, please?
The story of Morgan's dates back to 2010, when the world's first ultra-accessible, fully inclusive nonprofit theme park opened its doors. Nearly 3 million people from 122 countries and all 50 states have experienced the park. It encompasses 25 acres of rides, attractions, and activities for everyone to enjoy. From the whirling Wonder Ferris wheel to the iconic carousel, everything is wheelchair accessible, creating an atmosphere of inclusion and a culture of kindness. Morgan Hartman is the inspiration behind this park and everything we do. Her smile has a contagious ability to lift spirits, and her wave is a joyful welcome to people of all abilities.
Oh, you have fish hands!
This is a place where everyone can play together and gain a better understanding of one another. Guests with special needs are always admitted free of charge. And just like its symbol, the butterfly, Morgan's Wonderland has grown into something truly beautiful and inspires others to take flight.
2, 1.
Always looking to the future, Morgan's Inspiration Island opened in 2017. The $17 million 3-acre splash park is another first, designed to unite people of all abilities. It has 5 tropically themed splash pads, a riverboat adventure ride, and a wheelchair valet system. Guests in wheelchairs can privately transfer into one of our waterproof chairs, including a pneumatic chair. Powered by compressed air, this allows even guests in battery-operated chairs a chance to enjoy the splash park without the risk of damaging their personal wheelchairs. Every single drop of water provides a refreshing splash of happiness. In 2020, Morgan Sports was completed. Morgan herself was there on opening day to throw out the first pitch.
Good morning. All right.
This 3-acre ultra-accessible sports complex offers 28 quarter field combinations, 2 softball fields, 4 tennis courts, 18 pickleball courts, a soccer field, and a basketball court. It's a place of fitness and fun for athletes of all ages and all abilities. In 2021, our next adventure was created with Morgan's Camp, a 102-acre recreational oasis that provides an ultra-accessible camping experience. From swimming, to zip lining, to rock wall climbing, and even a challenge course, it was all specially created for people of all abilities. And our latest endeavor, Morgan's MAC, the Multi-Assistance Center. It's a revolutionary concept created to address the many issues individuals with disabilities face every day. It will help families identify and access services in a way that's never been done before, with a single point of contact called a navigator.
A copy of the initial care plan? Okay.
The navigator will do one comprehensive evaluation of our MAC members and develop a plan of treatment based on healthcare, therapy services, and social service needs. The navigator will then coordinate their care between community service providers, many who have set up space at Morgan's MAC. We call them the MACers. More than 30 community-based organizations have joined us to help create a unique model of care, addressing all of a member's needs, most of them in one place, here at Morgan's MAC. By creating a comprehensive and collaborative care model organized and tracked by a navigator, the hope is to help our friends with disabilities reach their full potential and ease the burden put on caregivers. A theme park, a splash park, a sporting facility, and a camp. Places that prove it's possible for people of all abilities to enjoy life side by side. And now Morgan's MAC will provide a community of overall care that will hopefully inspire other communities to follow.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy.
Stop. I got to stop. Gordon. All right, first of all, let's give Gordon a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. We've got people with microphones on either end. Does anybody have a question here? Because I've got a couple if you don't ask. I've got a question over here, please.
Your talk was very informative, and I have a friend who has an autistic grandson, and camping or going to camp is something he would be interested in. Is this a daily camp or a weekly camp?
Excellent question. As they asked me how long I asked how long I had to speak. They said 20 minutes. If you give me an hour, I would have told you everything. Excellent question. First of all, remember Morgans.org. Morgans.org. If you ever want any information about anything that I talked about, and that video, by the way, is a little behind the times because there's many more things happening than what was mentioned there. But go to Morgans.org and tell people to go there because that's where you can see all the different things that we do. Let me answer your question with respect to the camp. Yes, everybody can go there, and there are day camps, 2-day camps, and 5-day camps. And so all types of different camps. You can either have camps where we put on the entire camp for you, or you can bring folks and you put on the camp and you actually use our facilities. So we're a dual camp in that respect, kind of a little bit of a different approach in that respect. We have our own kitchen, so we make our own food, and we can hold up to 600 people at this camp. This is a large camp. So as I mentioned, most camps in Texas have about 2,000 campers a year. We do about 2.5 times that per year from all over. But everyone is welcome. And depending on if somebody can't afford it, again, we do not ever want that to be a barrier. So if they can't afford it, we work with folks to try to make it possible for them to come to Morgan's Camp.
Can all these old people go to camp?
Everybody goes to camp. It's all ages. And you know, people of all ages go to Morgan's. You know, it's from 0 to 110, if you will. I mean, it's just all ages are welcome. Please know that. By the way, did y'all recognize that voice that came on for that? Who was that? Leslie Mouton. She is part of Morgan's, by the way. The only reason I'm mentioning it is because I forgot to mention to you about Morgan's studio. We actually have a studio. We put on different activities and things that go around the country and around the world. We're using it all the time for different types of shows that Leslie Mouton does for us. She's been with us for about 3.5 years. She went from KSAT over to Morgan's. And so I forgot to mention, we have a studio, and that is something so that we can talk about inclusion, talk about things you've allowed me to talk about here, but spread it to the entire world through Morgan Studio.
Any other got question over here, Lee?
Hello. Does your definition of special needs extend to adults, for example, with Parkinson's disease or dementia?
It's an excellent question. First of all, special needs has no age in respect to. Morgan was born with special needs, but also a good friend of mine had a motorcycle accident, and he has considerable special needs right now, if you will. A special need can happen in a second. And so it's all ages. People come with all ages. We have people who, I'm gonna tell you a story. We have a sand area at the park, and there's a young man who's probably in his mid-30s, and he's cognitively at a level probably about a 3-year-old. He comes and plays in that sand circle alongside kids, younger folks who are maybe 4, 5, 6 years old, and he's having a blast. It's all about inclusion. It's all about everybody coming together. So it's about all ages. Let me talk, you mentioned Parkinson's. My brother, who is 8 years older than me, has Parkinson's. He's a MAC member. So he comes to the MAC and gets physical therapy and some other needs that he has at the MAC. And he is treated, he's got a MAC number just like anybody else, and he's treated just like, he comes there for, and he loves his physical therapy there. So that was an example. When I built the MAC, I didn't know my brother had Parkinson's. He didn't either. But he's developed Parkinson's over the last couple of years and needs that kind of assistance. So he was a perfect person to become part of the MAC. And so he's in his late 60s and using the facility. So it's for all ages.
Question? Any other questions over here? Got one right here.
Thank you. You have a tremendously wonderful facility. Do you ever have any problems with being taken over by people that really don't need those services, but just think they want to come out there and play? Can they ever kind of overrun you?
Well, what you're saying is to become 100%, and it would be people without special needs. Is that what? Well, first of all, we want people who do not have special needs to be a part of what we do.
Sure.
When we build a new fitness center, we want people who don't have. So, is it overrun? No, we've not had that problem.
Good.
In the water park, we can hold about 1,000 people in our water park, but we limit it to 800 because we don't want it to be too crowded. And so remember, we're not about the bottom line of making a profit. We're about offering a service. I think that's very critical.
Yeah.
So we always try to make sure that we have as best of a balance as we can. But on some days you'll go to Morgan's and you may see, I'm going to estimate maybe 30% of the population has special needs, and you may go another day and maybe nobody has special needs, or 2%. So it's a variety all the time. We don't have any. And when you come in and someone says, we ask if someone has a special need and they present themselves and say, I have a special need, or a caregiver says, we let them in free. And I have to tell you this, people often ask the question, well, how do you know they're not lying to you? And you know what my answer to that is? If they lie, they have a special need. So we let them in free, okay? That's kind of our approach to it, yeah.
Gordon, if somebody brings in, an adult brings in their child, what's the average price you charge the adult?
Yeah, it's in about the mid-20s, $25, $28 a ticket. There's no charge for parking. You can bring your own food if you want to, so you don't have to buy any of our drinks or any of our food if you think it's too expensive, or if you want a special diet and you need to bring your own food, we let you do that. Many places don't allow you to do that. We'll hold your food for you, cold if you need us to, until you need it. So these are the kind of things we try to get outside the box on, so that individuals who come, many times large families come. And if we had to make it to where they had to buy all the hamburgers and all the Cokes and do all that kind of stuff, they would say, never mind, can't do it, can't afford it. We have to think about that affordability element, and that's why we allow people. When we first built Morgan's, we didn't have much food, and the food we had was all healthy food, because I thought, well, that's what we're going to do. Well, we wiped that out real quick. It was amazing how people said, no, I want cotton candy and I want all this stuff with sugar, and I'm like, okay, don't get it, sure. So we offer both, but yes. Yeah.
We have a question back here, Norm.
You talked about being debt-free. beyond ticket sales and that sort of thing, how are you basically funded?
Well, that's a real good question because that comes up a lot. First of all, if we had debt, we couldn't do what we do. That'd be impossible because our costs would overtake us. And even with that, we lose quite a bit, millions every year. But how do we cover for that? First of all, we have a visionary dinner every year, which brings in some money. We have different sponsorships of people, of organizations that help us, et cetera. And then sometimes we still do have deficits that unfortunately my foundation has to get involved in to cover. We have been pretty successful in being self-sustaining, but as we're growing with the new Wonder Care and all the other things, but let me give you an example, like the hotel. When you stay at the hotel, you come and have dinner there, or you have a drink there, 100%, no debt, goes right back to help Morgans. So we're putting things in place that are actually gonna make us to where we can be self-sustaining in perpetuity. And that's important. I'm gonna tell you, the easiest thing about all the stuff I'm talking about is building it. That's the easy part. Sustaining it is the hard part. And so I am blessed with a CEO who runs and has 8 executives that answer to him, who run all the different operations and everything, which allows us to make sure we watch everything very closely, because when you're running a budget as large as we are, every dollar counts. For example, the weather this weekend was not good, so Morgan's was not open much. 4th of July is a big weekend for us, major, that's a lot of money just not gonna come in. So we have to pick that up somewhere else, if you will. And because we're not about just making sure that we're making money, it's about offering a service. So we have to look to people to donate. And so a lot of people, because of that, allow us to do what we do. And the reason we can expand, and the reason we've been able to expand, is because people have been willing to donate and been willing to be a part of what we do.
All right, any other questions? To donate.
Yes, ma'am.
To donate, they just go to your website, and there's a way to donate there if somebody wanted to.
You can give me a bag with lots of hundreds of
Small unmarked bills?
Unmarked bills, yes, and give those to me. I have a Swedish account, I'll give you the account number. No, go to morgans.org if you wish to give, or if you have an organization that would like to be involved with us in some fashion, just contact. And I'll even give you my email address. It's really easy to remember. It's Gordon, Gordon, @morgans.org. Send me an email and say, hey, I got this idea, or whatever. And if you have someone that we can help, or you're wondering about something, send me the email. I guarantee you will get an answer. We're very big about that. Gordon@morgans.org. And remember, Gordon is spelled with an O at the end. Some people would say, Gordon, I sent you that email. And I said, well, how did you spell my name? Gordan. It's like, no, that's why I never got it. So it's O-N. So anyway, if you do, I'll be happy to help in any way you can. But if you want to go straight to all the things that we're doing or help us, go to morgans.org.
Every place has its occupancy limit. Are you ever at the point where you cannot admit people into the facility?
As in Morgan's or Morgan's Wonderland?
In Morgan's Wonderland.
Morgan's Wonderland has had a full capacity before, yes. We do every once in a while. So we have to tell people they can't come in if we get to a full capacity. That does happen every once in a while. Majority of the time, no. It's rare, but on certain times it will occur.
Can they make reservations, or?
We
no?
did a reservation at first. We don't do reservations now. Just go to the website again. When you go into morgans.org, you can call us as well. I don't know the phone number, but you can. I honestly just don't know.
Well, you don't call yourself.
I don't. It's busy all the time. Yeah. But if you go into morgans.org, you can drop down to whatever you're interested in, and it will give you information and tell you about. For example, Morgan's Wonderland. If you went into this weekend, it would have said we're closed. Whereas normally it would have said we're open. Here's what the hours are. Here's what things are going on, etc. So if we get to capacity, we will warn people about capacity in advance, so you don't get there and go, hey, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Questions? One more.
Hey, it sounds like a real great place. What if we got a group of 30 of us and ran over there in a bus? You can handle that?
Okay, first of all, I want to see all y'all run. Okay. All right, is that part of the deal? Okay, because then I'm letting you all in for free. Okay?
I don't think we're gonna run.
Okay, but
we'll take the bus.
Okay, you take the bus. Why not? Come over, enjoy it. Walk. You can walk a mile just going around the lake, and you can go on a boat ride. I didn't talk about it. We have 2 barges. They're covered, so even when it's hot, it's not hot on the barge. You take a boat ride. I mean, there's just so many things you can do. You can watch a 4D theater and act like you're on a roller coaster, and it moves and throws water at you and air just like any other roller coaster would. Those are the kind of things it's for everybody. Yes, the answer is yes. But you asked a perfect question, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
One more question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, can Steve call you if he has a problem?
Anytime, yeah, yes. Yes. Oh, if only I knew my phone number, huh?
Look, Gordon, first of all, I'd like to give you the Arc Challenge coin. We really, really appreciate you coming. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.